Please, sir, can you help my brother? He's dying. The small voice cracked through the roar of engines and laughter inside the Hells Angels pit stop. A little girl no older than 9 stood at the doorway, clutching a wrinkled $10 bill in her tiny hand. The music stopped. Beers froze midair. Every tattooed face turned toward her. The man behind the bar, Brick, 6'4", scars like roadmaps of battles he'd never talk about, set his bottle down. His voice came low and calm, like thunder waiting to break. Kid you lost. She shook her head fast, tears burning her cheeks. No, sir. My brother, he can't breathe. The hospital said they won't help till we pay. Mama's gone. I have $10. Please. No one moved. The room, full of men feared across 3 states, fell silent. Brick stood, his leather vest creaking. Where's your mama, sweetheart? She's gone. Her voice cracked again. She said if I ever needed help, to find people who still had hearts. I walked all day till I saw your bikes. The men exchanged glances. One of them, Snake, muttered under his breath. Jesus, she walked here? Brick crouched down. What's your name? Lila. And your brother? Tommy. He's 7. He's in the car outside. The heater's broken. Brick's jaw tightened. He looked toward the window, then back at her. Who brought you here, Lila? She hesitated, her eyes darting toward the door. My uncle. He said if you were real men, you'd help me. If not, she swallowed hard. You'd prove my mama was wrong. The air in the room shifted. Every biker felt it, the sting behind those words. Brick stood slowly. Stay here, Lila. He signaled the others with a tilt of his head. Boots echoed across the wooden floor as they stepped outside, each man ready for whatever kind of uncle waited in that parking lot. But when the door swung open, there was no car. No boy. Just tire marks vanishing into the dark road. Brick's stomach turned cold. Behind him, Lila's trembling voice broke the silence. He said if you didn't help, he'd come back for Tommy. The entire crew froze. Brick turned toward her, eyes narrowing. Come back for him how, kid? Lila clutched her $10 tighter, her lips trembling. He said he'd make him disappear, just like he did to Mama. And in that single breath, the Hells Angels knew this wasn't about money. It was about saving 2 children from a devil wearing a human face. Brick's fists tightened until his knuckles went white. The sound of rain hitting the tin roof mixed with the heavy silence. He took your brother? He asked, his voice low but dangerous. Lila nodded, clutching her little bag like it held her whole world. He said he'd come back in the morning to take me too. Said nobody helps beggars. Snake swore under his breath and grabbed his jacket. That's it. I'm getting my bike. But Brick stopped him with one raised hand. His eyes stayed locked on the girl. You know where he's staying? Lila hesitated, thinking hard. A dirty motel by the gas station, the one with the red light that flickers. Brick looked around the room. Tank, Hawk, come with me. Snake, you stay here with the kid. Lila's small fingers reached out and caught Brick's sleeve. You'll bring Tommy back, right? Her voice was barely a whisper, shaking with fear and trust all at once. Brick knelt down and placed his giant hand gently over hers. Little one, I've done a lot of bad things in my life, but tonight, I'll only do one good thing, and that's bringing your brother home. Minutes later, thunder filled the night as 3 bikes tore down the wet road, their headlights cutting through the darkness. The motel came into view, half the lights broken, the sign buzzing like it was dying too. Brick parked fast, heart pounding. Through a cracked window, he saw a man pacing with a phone in one hand and a belt in the other. A boy sat on the bed, crying silently. Brick's jaw tightened. He didn't wait. He kicked the door open so hard it slammed the wall. The man jumped, dropping the belt. What the hell? Who are you? Brick stepped forward, water dripping from his jacket. The man you should have never messed with. The uncle tried to grab the boy, but Hawk moved faster, pulling Tommy away. The man swung, but Brick caught his wrist midair. In a second, the man was face first against the wall, trembling. You like hurting kids, huh? Brick growled, his voice cold as ice. You're gonna wish the cops get here before I change my mind. The man's face twisted with fear. You don't scare me. You're all criminals. Brick leaned close, his voice deep and calm. Yeah, but tonight, we're the kind of criminals who save children. Outside, Hawk carried Tommy, wrapping the boy in his jacket. The kid whispered, Did you bring my sister? Brick looked at him, and for the first time that night, a faint smile crossed his scarred face. She's waiting, kid. And she's the bravest soul I've ever met. They rode back through the storm, 3 bikes against the night, a little boy safe between them, unaware that the real storm had only just begun. When the bikes roared back into the pit stop, Lila was waiting at the door, her eyes red from crying but full of hope. The moment she saw Tommy wrapped in Hawk's jacket, she ran forward and hugged him so tight, it looked like she was trying to keep him from vanishing. The whole clubhouse watched in silence. For men who'd seen war, loss, and betrayal, that hug was the only thing strong enough to break them inside. Brick turned to the others. "Get these kids some food and blankets." He looked down at Lila. "You did good, kid. You found the right people." But even as the warmth returned to the room, there was a weight behind Brick's eyes. He knew men like her uncle, men who didn't stop until they were forced to. "Tank," he said quietly, "find out who this guy really is." Tank nodded, pulling out his phone. 10 minutes later, his face went pale. "You're not gonna like this, Brick. He's wanted in 2 states. Child trafficking, forgery, fraud. Real name's Carl Henson. Been hiding out here for months." The room went dead silent again. Snake slammed his fist on the table. "You mean he's been selling kids while living down the road from us?" Brick exhaled slowly, eyes dark. "Not anymore." He looked at Lila and Tommy, who were eating quietly by the bar, trying to pretend everything was normal. Brick walked over and crouched beside them. "You 2 got anywhere safe to go?" Lila shook her head. "Mama's gone, and Uncle Carl took our house." Brick's voice softened. "Then you're staying here for now." Tommy looked up nervously. "But this is a biker place." "Yeah," Brick said, a half-smile tugging at his lips. "And sometimes, bikers protect angels." Hours passed. The rain stopped, but the night didn't calm. Outside, 2 bikes stood guard. Inside, the kids finally slept in the back room. But just as Brick started to relax, Tank's phone buzzed again. He frowned, then cursed under his breath. Carl posted bail. "He's out." Brick's hand froze midair. "When?" "Half an hour ago." Snake grabbed his gun. "He'll come back." Brick nodded slowly, the room's tension rising like a storm rebuilding itself. He looked at the sleeping kids through the open door. "Then let him." The headlights outside flickered for a second, and every man reached for his weapon. The night was about to prove whether devils could truly be outmatched by angels dressed in leather. The night went still, too still. The rain had stopped, but the air was heavy, filled with the kind of silence that comes right before something bad. Brick stood by the window, watching the road, his hand resting on the shotgun laid across the table. Snake whispered, "You really think he's dumb enough to come back?" Brick's jaw clenched. Men like him don't stop till they think they've won. A faint sound broke the quiet, tires on gravel. Headlights flashed across the wall. The men tensed. Outside, a black car rolled to a stop. The engine stayed running. Brick motioned for everyone to hold position. He stepped out alone, rainwater dripping from the roof. The car door opened, and Carl Henson stepped out, face twisted with arrogance, a gun shining under the streetlight. "You think you can keep what's mine?" he sneered. Brick's voice came calm and deep. "You don't own people, Carl. Especially not kids." Carl laughed, stepping closer. "You're gonna regret getting in my business." But before he could aim, a sound cracked behind him, the click of multiple safeties. One by one, the Hell's Angels stepped from the shadows, circling him like wolves. Snake spoke first. "The only thing you'll regret is being born mean." Carl's eyes darted around. "You can't touch me. I'll call the cops." Brick took a slow step forward. "You already did. We called them 20 minutes ago. They're waiting down the road." Carl froze, confusion flashing across his face, right before red and blue lights washed over the parking lot. Sirens screamed as officers poured in. Brick didn't flinch when Carl screamed curses while they cuffed him. He just said quietly, "You'll never touch them again." When it was over, the men walked back inside. Lila was awake, standing in the doorway, clutching her brother's hand. "Is he gone?" she asked softly. Brick nodded. "He's gone for good." She walked up, holding out the $10 bill again. "You never took this." Brick knelt, his rough face softening. "Keep it, kid. You paid with courage. That's worth more than money." Lila shook her head, pressing the bill into his palm. "Then promise you'll never forget us." He looked down at that small, wrinkled bill, torn at the edges, still damp from her tears, and his throat tightened. He stood, walked to the bar, and pinned it to the wall. "Nobody's forgetting you, little angel. Not ever." Years later, that $10 bill still hung there. Every new rider who joined the club had to ask about it. And Brick always said the same thing. That's the price of courage. A little girl paid it, and it changed all of us. If this story touched your heart, share it. Because kindness doesn't always wear a smile, and heroes don't always wear uniforms. Sometimes, they walk in covered in dust, carrying stories that could change your heart forever.